as you mentioned, like you're living in Japan right now, which is, such an amazing thing. And can you walk through, the whole consequences of decisions that led you to being there and, experiencing this life over there?
Yeah, yeah. So I had this love affair with Japan from the time I discovered this band Eastern Youth.
Yeah.
And they were like a punk rock band from Japan, and they didn't sing in English. I had no idea what they're saying, but I just really liked the sound of music. And I discovered them back in the days when you would have like email friends around the world, and we were like trading physical music, like trading CDs. And that's how I learned about him. So I was trading CDs with this guy in Japan. And he sent me a bunch of bands. I sent him a bunch of American bands. And so I loved that band. And then I ended up making a website for that band.
Wow.
And it was like their only English website. And so like the record label contacted me and was like, hey, they're going to be coming to tour America with At the Drive-In. And, would you like to go on tour with us? So I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Like my favorite band, getting to go on tour with them. So I did that. And that's that moment I told you about. And I became friends with that band. And I did, I think, 2 other tours in the US with them, with Cursive, one with Cursive. We did some shows with Jimmy Eat World, just as Jimmy Eat World was exploding with the Bleed American record. And then I did some tours in Japan with this band. So I was going over there, and then I just really liked it. Every year I was coming over here. I was doing the Fearless Records bands in Japan. I was helping get those released over here. And then I ran into like Red Bull Japan. I was introduced to Red Bull Japan, and they would fly me over from America every year to do this Red Bull live on the road. It was like basically like a battle of the bands. And they had some really cool bands, like One OK Rock was at that thing. That's a pretty big rock band now. And there was some other bands too that came out of that program. And so that was really fun. So I was coming like every year. I was coming here. And no surprise, I fell in love, married my wife. She's Japanese. This is in Los Angeles. And, we lived in Los Angeles, married 6 years, had a kid. And we at that point, when our daughter was 5, I had left Fearless Records because the company sold. And I stayed for a while, but wasn't really feeling it. I got approached by Sony Music. They offered me a vice president job at Sony Music. And I was like, I've always wondered what it was like to work at a major label. So I took that job, and it was great. Worked there about 1.5 years. And actually, I had made this decision to move to Japan while I was working at Sony. And I was totally nervous about it. But at the same time, it was like, I had a tip that 5 was a good age where your kid could become bilingual really easily. Like she was already fluent in English pretty much, and she learned and knew a lot of Japanese. But if we could go do 2 years in Japan and lock in that language, she could be sort of bilingual for life. And that's what the advice was. We're like, we got to do it. So I was like, I wanted to do this education thing, like Band Builder Academy. I had this idea for it. I'm like, let's do it. This is the best time of the year. We'll do it for 2 years. And I was like, I'm going to do it. So I quit my job, good salary, everything. Some people consider that a dream job, but I had sort of accomplished all of my record label goals at that time. So there wasn't really much left for me to do, So I wanted to do this education thing, picked up my family, moved for 2 years. We just rented out our place in LA, and it wasn't as hard as you would think it was. So we did it. And then the pandemic came and we were like, this is a pretty safe place to be in a pandemic. It didn't get hit hard at first. There wasn't the case count that you had in other parts of the world. So we felt safe here. We stayed. Meanwhile, we developed friendships and lifestyle. We loved it here, and we've stayed. It's been about 5 years now, and we're happy here. I don't think we're moving back anytime soon to LA. But yeah, it was just sort of it was supposed to be 2 years, and then we were going to be back in LA, but it turned out to, go on a lot longer than that.
That's amazing. what do you like the most about Japan and the country and the people? You know, what impresses you the most with, you know, the life over there? What likes you?
I think it's the sort of safe lifestyle, peaceful lifestyle. I came from Los Angeles and was living specifically near Long Beach. There was a lot of just daily violence in my community, getting confronted at the gas station or a restaurant, or just, you know, there's this tension in the air, you know, at a park with my kid getting confronted or even robbed a few times, you know, like here we can still leave our doors open. I could leave my laptop on a park bench and go, you know, play on the park, and I could leave my laptop right there. Nobody's going to take it. I mean, I know we just had this tragic incident over here where the prime minister was assassinated.
Yeah.
It was totally a shock to people because that type of violence, and it's a really safe place. And it was just so out of character for this society. So I know it's strange to say, but it still feels very safe, very peaceful. And I like that. It was a breath of fresh air coming from that high tension area where I was living. And I think that's what I like most about it. But just day-to-day life is very simple, easy, peaceful. There's a sense of community. You know, I don't know. There's just it's a good place to raise a kid, I guess.
You know, I've always been fascinated by Japanese culture pretty much because of the same reasons. And obviously I haven't been there, but from what I observe, it really seems and I think this is a very accurate word, I guess, to use, peaceful. And, you know, obviously for me as a person, this is a very big aspect, a very important word. So it's great to hear that my expectations are kind of accurate from what you've been saying. So I guess it's amazing to know that in this world, in this times, there's such a place where, you know, things are just a bit more simple, as you said.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting place for, you know, for me to be like, and trying to, you know, raise a daughter not just bilingually, but biculturally. Like I want her to be fluent in Western American culture, but fluent in Japanese, Asian culture as well. And I'm a pretty good example. I mean, like when I think about American culture, we're very individualistic. We value our freedom and our independence and our individualism. And in Japan, it's more about the community and the collective vibe, and almost to an extreme. And then America's individualism is almost to an extreme. And they're actually at their extremes, they're not very good. But I think I've tried to find that middle ground. And I hope that I've taught my daughter that middle ground. But I do fight with that individualistic side. And then I find it annoying that like the Japanese collective and group mentality, I find it somewhat annoying at times. But then I sort of appreciate the good aspects, because like when the pandemic came, you saw my home country in America, it was, I'm an individual. I can make my own decisions. I don't have to care about, you know, infecting anybody else. I'm not going to wear a mask, you know. But here it was, let's protect our neighbors. Let's protect the community, the greater community. So like those extremes actually, you know, proved which I personally think the collective community was better. And it's interesting. 2 years of collectivism and the group mentality have sort of gone out the window, because here in Japan now, I mean, there's still 99% wearing masks, but people have let their guard down to where it's just sort of like, all right, we're over it. Let's just get on with it. And cases are spiking right now. So it's taken a while, but people have let their guard down now.
It seems to be like that all over the world, in all fairness, which is, you know, not very good news to experience. But
summer of 2022, I never would have thought that we're, you know, I mean, in Japan, it's pretty much the worst it's been so far in the whole pandemic. It's summer of 2022. I thought we'd be way over it by now, but well, hopefully it'll hopefully we'll get back to normal.